It was just past midnight when a scream tore through the foggy calm of Willow Creek, Minnesota. A sound so raw and desperate that it jolted awake the entire neighborhood. The air was thick with the scent of pine and damp earth, the kind of silence that only small towns know, where even the faintest noise echoes like thunder. But when the sun rose, the quiet was shattered by a chilling discovery. At 23 Maple Street, in the modest, weathered home of Sarah Thompson, the unthinkable had happened. Sarah's lifeless body lay sprawled on the living room floor, surrounded by shards of broken glass that glittered like frozen tears under the morning light. Her face was pale, eyes wide open in a final expression of shock. Across the wall, smeared in bright red lipstick, was a message that sent shivers down every spine who saw it. Truth hides in plain sight. No forced entry, no sign of a struggle, just a haunting enigma that whispered of secrets too dangerous to speak aloud. Sarah Thompson was the heartbeat of Willow Creek, a small town of 4,000 nestled among endless forests and winding rivers, where everybody knew each other's birthdays, stories, and sometimes their sins. She was a mother, a wife, a friend, the owner of Sweet Seasons, a bakery renowned for its sticky cinnamon rolls and the warmth in Sarah's smile. Every morning, she greeted customers by name, poured coffee with care, and baked not just bread, but community. Her husband Eric was a carpenter with calloused hands and steady eyes. Their son Jake was 17, a typical teenager trying to find his place in a town too small for secrets. To outsiders, the Thompsons seemed like the perfect family. But as the investigation peeled back the layers, it became clear that beneath the calm surface, something rotten was festering. Detective Mark Jensen arrived as the first rays of sunlight cut through the mist. His boots crunched softly on the gravel path leading to the house, a home that now felt more like a crime scene from a nightmare. Jensen was no stranger to tragedy, but this case unsettled him in ways he couldn't explain. The lipstick message on the wall was deliberate, a taunt, a clue, or a desperate cry. Whoever wrote it wanted the truth found, but not easily. Inside, everything was eerily undisturbed except for the shattered glass near Sarah's body. No valuables missing, no signs of forced entry. Jensen examined the scene carefully, noting the absence of the typical signs of a home invasion. Whoever had killed Sarah knew the house well, or perhaps Sarah had let them in willingly. Back at the police station, the interviews began. Eric Thompson's grief was raw but controlled. "She was my everything," he said, voice breaking. "I don't know who would do this." Neighbors painted Sarah as a woman who was generous to a fault, baking extra batches of bread for struggling families, volunteering at the church, and hosting community potlucks. But whispers started creeping through town like wildfire. Sarah had been acting strangely in the weeks before her death. She was distracted, even paranoid. Her best friend, Linda Marshall, recalled a late night when Sarah took a phone call outside, voice hushed and urgent. She said, "This can't go on," and then hung up. "That was the last time I saw her." What secret was Sarah carrying? What was this that couldn't continue? The case quickly tangled in uncertainty. Eric's alibi was airtight. He'd been at a charity fundraiser the entire night, with dozens of witnesses. Jake was with friends, confirmed by phone records. Attention turned to strangers. A drifter had been seen wandering through Willow Creek days before the murder, asking odd questions about the Thompsons. But when police searched, he'd vanished without a trace. Meanwhile, Tim Carlson, Sarah's bakery assistant, seemed unusually anxious. A minor dispute about missing supplies had occurred the week prior, but Tim insisted it was nothing. Still, during questioning, he stumbled, eyes darting. A lie detector test suggested he wasn't telling the whole truth. Was it a petty argument turned deadly, or was Tim just a red herring? Then, a break in the case, the discovery of Sarah's secret meetings with a local journalist, Hannah Wells. They'd been quietly investigating irregularities in the town council's finances. Unaccounted funds, shady contracts, threats to whistleblowers. Sarah had confided in Hannah about threats she'd received, veiled warnings to stay silent. This was no ordinary murder. It was a message, but the town council was a fortress. Members dismissed the allegations, their smiles tight and eyes cold. Rumors spread like wildfire. Eric was seen arguing fiercely with an unidentified man days before Sarah's death, a confrontation he refused to explain. Jake was caught in a lie about his whereabouts one night, his cool teenage demeanor cracking. But nothing concrete, just shadows and suspicion. The real terror was that the killer could be anyone, even those closest to Sarah. Days later, a forgotten voicemail surfaced on Sarah's phone. Her sister Beth's trembling voice. "Sarah, please be careful. What you found, it's bigger than you know. They'll stop at nothing." Beth was missing before the police could follow up. Detective Jensen was left with more questions than answers. Phone records revealed Eric had called Beth on the night of the murder, contradicting his earlier denials. The carpenter's perfect alibi fractured like glass. Whispers turned to accusations. But the biggest secret was yet to come. Something so dark it would force Willow Creek to confront its own reflection in the shattered mirror of Sarah's life. The cold weight of unanswered questions pressed down on Detective Mark Jensen as he stared at the latest pieces of evidence spread across his cluttered desk. The investigation into Sarah Thompson's murder had begun to feel like a maze without an exit. Every path led to a dead end. Every answer birthed more questions. Eric Thompson's carefully crafted alibi had begun to crumble. Phone records showed repeated calls between Eric and Beth, Sarah's sister, in the hours leading up to the murder. Yet, Eric claimed he didn't know why Beth was reaching out. And when questioned, his voice betrayed a flicker of something Jensen couldn't place. Guilt? Fear? Something darker. Meanwhile, Jake, the teenage son, was behaving oddly. His school attendance had dropped suddenly, and whispers of drug use began circulating through the tight-knit community. A search of his room turned up a torn piece of paper with the words, "Find the truth before it finds you," scrawled hastily. Was this a cry for help or a warning? Hannah Wells, the local journalist who had been Sarah's confidant, emerged from the shadows with new information. Over countless cups of stale coffee in the town diner, she revealed to Jensen the disturbing extent of what she and Sarah had uncovered. A network of corruption, betrayal, and deceit that reached into the highest echelons of Willow Creek's government. Contracts for town projects were inflated, funds siphoned off under the guise of repairs and improvements. Whistleblowers had been silenced by threats or worse. Sarah had been planning to expose it all, but someone got there first. Inside the Thompson household, the air was thick with tension. Eric's silence was suffocating. Jake's defiance was growing, and Sarah's memory hung in every room. Her favorite mug still half full, the scent of cinnamon from the bakery faint but lingering. At night, Jensen often imagined the conversations Sarah and Eric might have had. Desperate, pleading, maybe even violent. Had a family secret turned deadly? Or was Eric protecting someone else? Beth Thompson had vanished like a ghost. No calls, no messages, no trace. Local searches turned up nothing. But then, a breakthrough. A security camera from a gas station on the edge of town captured Beth in the company of a shadowy figure. A man no one recognized, his face obscured by a baseball cap. When Jensen tried to identify the man, the footage was mysteriously corrupted. Someone wanted Beth, and the truth to disappear. Then, the most disturbing revelation yet. Forensic analysis revealed traces of a rare poison in Sarah's system. A substance so obscure that only someone with knowledge of chemistry or medicine could obtain it. That narrowed the suspect pool dramatically, and it wasn't who anyone expected. The town's doctor, a longtime family friend, had easy access to such compounds. When questioned, his alibi was shaky, but more importantly, his demeanor was cold, almost indifferent. As Jensen pieced together the puzzle, a horrifying pattern emerged. The corruption wasn't just financial, it was personal. Blackmail, affairs, betrayals, the people of Willow Creek had more skeletons than the town cemetery. Sarah had stumbled into a storm, and in trying to expose it, had become its first victim. Late one evening, Jensen received an anonymous envelope slid under the precinct door. Inside was a single photograph, the Thompson family at a picnic, smiling and carefree. But someone had been crossed out in permanent marker, Eric. The message was clear, Look closer. Who sent the photo? What had Eric been hiding? And what would happen when the darkest secret in Willow Creek was finally revealed? The long, cold winter that had gripped Willow Creek seemed to mirror the icy tension that hung over the town. Detective Mark Jensen knew time was running out. Not just for the case, but for the fragile trust holding the community together. The photograph, the corrupted footage, the poison, all pieces of a dark puzzle slowly snapping into place. Now, Jensen was ready to expose the truth. It started with a quiet confession. Eric Thompson, faced with the mounting evidence, finally cracked during a late-night interrogation. His voice barely a whisper, he recounted a story that sent shockwaves through the courtroom days later. Sarah had discovered Eric's involvement in the town council's corruption scandal. More than that, she had caught him siphoning funds, using their family bakery's finances as a front. When confronted, Eric begged her to stay silent, but Sarah's conscience would not allow it. Threatened with exposure and ruin, Eric spiraled into desperation. On the night of her murder, an argument turned violent. In a moment of rage, he had poisoned her coffee with the rare toxin, intending only to frighten her into silence. But the poison was more potent than he realized. He had panicked, staged the scene, and left the lipstick message, a twisted apology or a warning to others. Jake's rebellious behavior suddenly made sense. He had known about his father's betrayal all along and had tried to protect his mother in his own way. The torn note he wrote was a desperate plea for the truth to come out before more damage was done. He had confronted Eric, but the confrontation only fueled Eric's fury. The local doctor, initially suspected because of the poison's nature, was cleared of wrongdoing. But his cold demeanor masked his own quiet guilt. He had noticed Eric's irregular behavior but chose silence to protect the family and preserve his own reputation. In a packed courtroom, Eric Thompson was convicted of first-degree murder. The jury found the evidence overwhelming. Phone records, forensic proof, witness testimonies, and his own confession. Sentenced to life in prison without parole, Eric sat silently as the gavel fell. Sarah's family, though broken, finally found a measure of peace. Willow Creek would never be the same. The town had been stripped bare of its illusions, forced to confront the darkness lurking beneath its peaceful veneer. But in facing the truth, it also found resilience. Sarah's bakery was reopened by the community as a tribute, a symbol of hope and honesty. Detective Jensen stood outside 23 Maple Street one last time before leaving town. The sun was rising, casting warm light on the shattered glass still swept away, the faint scent of cinnamon lingering in the air. He wondered how many other towns hid secrets like Willow Creek's, and how often the people we love are the ones we least suspect. Because sometimes, the greatest betrayals come not from strangers, but from the ones who stand closest to us. If you found this story gripping, hit that like button and subscribe for more chilling true crime tales that uncover the darkest secrets hiding in plain sight. Have thoughts or theories about the Willow Creek case? Drop a comment below. We want to hear what you think happened and who you suspected. Don't forget to share this video with friends who love mysteries. And ring the bell so you never miss an episode of the most captivating true crime stories on YouTube. Stay safe, stay curious, and remember, sometimes the truth is closer than you think.